Today, we are digging deep into the soil and sailing the coasts of Apulia, down in southern Italy. And we're going to see how, in a place that's really defined by its landscape, the simplest tools, a hoe, a fishing net, a wooden plow, tell this incredible story of resilience, of ingenuity, and of this unbroken conversation between people and their environment. All right, let's get into it.
So, this whole story really boils down to one central question, a conflict that has shaped life in Apulia for centuries. And it's this: how in the world do you build a thriving culture on land that seems to fight you every single step of the way? Well, the answer, as we're about to find out, is in the tools.
Right, so to understand the tools, we first have to understand the opponent, the land itself. This first part of our story is all about the beautiful but unbelievably tough terrain of Apulia. Most of Apulia's landscape is what's called karstic terrain. Now, what does that mean? Just imagine soil that's hard, it's stony, and it's packed with limestone. This is not the kind of soft, loamy earth you just stick a seed in. No, this is land that basically says, nope, you're not farming here. It demands incredible persistence and forces a completely different way of thinking about agriculture. So how did they do it? With a super specialized toolkit refined over hundreds and hundreds of years. You had the aratro, a wooden plow, designed not to dominate the soil but to negotiate with it, tilling just shallowly enough to get around all those rocks. Then you had the picone, the pickaxe, which was absolutely critical for just cracking through that tough limestone crust. And then there's the zappa, the hoe. This is the true icon of manual labor in this region. The design of the zappa is it's genius. You might look at that short handle and think it's kind of inefficient, right? But that's the whole point. It's a feature, not a bug. That short handle lets a farmer put all their weight and leverage into a downward strike, which is exactly what you need to break into soil that feels more like concrete. It's a brilliant piece of engineering, born out of pure necessity. Okay, so getting the land ready was one massive battle, but gathering what it grew, well, that was a whole other story. This brings us to the monumental effort it took to harvest Apulia's most famous crops, olives and grapes. I mean, just picture it. Thousands and thousands of ancient, gnarled, sprawling olive trees. The challenge isn't just getting the fruit off the tree, it's doing it efficiently without bruising the olives, or, just as important, damaging these trees that are hundreds of years old. This wasn't a job for brute force. It took a really delicate, almost rhythmic approach. And here's how they did it. The whole process was like a community ritual. Workers would use something called a pertica, a long, flexible pole, to gently tap the high branches, making the olives fall. Down below, massive hand nets were spread out to catch the fruit like a soft trampoline. Then, those olives were rushed to the frontio, a huge stone mill, usually powered by a donkey, to start turning them into that famous olive oil. This was the rhythm of life for generations. But Apulia isn't just fields and olive groves. It's got these incredibly long coastlines on the Adriatic and Ionian seas, and that presented a totally different set of problems and demanded an equally clever but completely different set of tools. Just look at this thing. It's incredible. This is a trabuco. It's not a boat. It's a machine built right on the rocky shore. These huge wooden platforms are an amazing example of pre-industrial engineering. Using this complex web of winches and levers, fishermen could lower a giant net into the sea and then hoist it back up full of fish without ever getting their feet wet. It's like part building, part fishing machine, all powered by pure genius. For centuries, this story of human and animal power was pretty much the only story. But then, in the 20th century, a new sound arrived in the fields of Apulia: the roar of an engine. This was the turning point that would change the relationship between people and the land forever. This timeline really puts that change into perspective. You see millennia, thousands of years of slow, steady evolution, all driven by human and animal muscle. Then, bam, in the industrial era after the war, just a few decades bring a complete revolution. The age of engines arrived, and hot on its heels, the digital precision of today. And the shift was fundamental. The power source went from muscle to engine. The materials went from natural things like wood and iron to steel and plastics. And the whole pace changed, from slow, rhythmic work that depended entirely on a person's skill to fast, super productive work driven by automated mechanical precision. If you want to boil it all down to one single image, this is it. The old wooden arado, that was a tool of negotiation. It worked with the land, skimming the surface, moving around obstacles. The modern tractor, that's a tool of domination. It imposes its will, plowing deep and fundamentally changing the soil. It wasn't just a change in technology, it was a change in philosophy. But here's where the story takes a really interesting twist. You'd expect the roar of the tractor to just wipe the old ways off the map, to silence them completely. But in Apulia, that's not what happened. The new didn't just erase the old. This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures what modern Apulia is all about. Modernity didn't replace tradition, it just added a new layer on top. The two have somehow found a way to coexist, to work together in a way that feels unique to this place. So here's what that layering actually looks like on the ground. It's this dual system. An olive farmer today might use a Zappa in the morning to do that delicate, precise work around the base of a 500-year-old tree where a big machine just can't go. But then, in the afternoon, they'll hop on a tractor to quickly and efficiently plow the wide open fields between the trees. It's the perfect blend of heritage and modern productivity. And this isn't just some isolated example. The old tools and methods are still alive and totally essential. Those hand nets and poles are often still the best way to harvest high-quality olives. Artisans still painstakingly build and repair those iconic dry stone walls by hand. The trabuki are now protected cultural heritage sites. And the simple roncola, or pruning hook, is still the go-to tool for the precise art of trimming vines. At the end of the day, the story of these tools is the story of the Apulian character itself. They represent the qualities you need to survive and thrive here: resilience against that hard soil, persistence through all the seasons, and a deep, continuous dialogue with the world around them. So the big idea to leave you with is this. These tools are not just old, dusty objects in a museum. They are living artifacts. To hold a Zappa is to feel the weight of centuries of hard work. To see a trabuco is to witness generations of incredible ingenuity. They carry the cultural memory, the struggle, and the identity of an entire civilization shaped by its land. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Whether it's a kitchen utensil passed down through your family, a special technique you use for gardening, or even a piece of software that's unique to what you do, what are the tools in your life that hold the memory of your culture? What story do they tell?